And talking about Just Dial, let's bring on board the management on the show as well. Now, why we're calling them today on the show, the case for chat is the fact that board has approved a buyback at a maximum price of 15.50 per share. The buyback is going to be of up to 25% of the paid up capital and free reserves as well. The buyback is going to be done through a tender offer process. Let's bring on board then Ram Kumar Krishnamachari, CFO at Just Dial. He joins us on the show right now. Ram, hi, morning. Good to chat with you, and thanks really for taking time out from your busy schedule and joining in. Now, firstly, your board has okayed this 25% buyback. How did you arrive at the valuation of 15.50 bucks per share?
See, this was done, the resolution was passed a couple of months back in first week of June.
Right.
And at that point of time, if you look at the weighted average price of the shares, was around 1,300 or so. So we wanted to give a good amount of 25-30% premium on top of it, and that's how we arrived at the 15.50 price.
It's almost double of what the CMP is currently. But what's the size in the number of shares?
It's a choppy market.
Yeah, well, you're telling us. We talk about it every minute. But what about the number of shares?
So the number of shares would be whatever, we are looking at 160 crore, which is about roughly 25% of the March, paid up capital and free reserves. And that would translate to 1.5% of the total number of outstanding shares, which will be bought back through this tender offer.
Ram, good morning, Neeraj here. Now, typically buybacks done by managements exhibit the confidence that they have in the business, which the market probably doesn't. Let's put it that way, simply. I was sitting with a group of investors the other day at a conference as well. We got into talking about Just Dial and the underperformance that the stock has had. And, it was more like an argument over drinks. So the conversation that came out was that the Search Plus delays have been so frequent that it has kind of waned their confidence into what they believed was a really good stock, probably still is. Now, how would you address that? I read a couple of notes which mentioned that it's a great trigger when it actually happens. They are preparing the ground. They'll probably launch it soon enough, but nobody's completely clear on the timelines. Are you clear on what's the deadline?
Completely understandable. I think we have missed a couple of deadlines that we gave in the past, and from an investor perspective, that's completely understandable. From our perspective, we want to make sure the launch happens only once, and we want to make sure that we have a great product when we launch it. From a functionality perspective, it's already there. We wanted to improve the UI before we launch it. The UI is almost there. Honestly speaking, I wouldn't want to venture right now and give you a date. We were going to launch it by this date because I missed a couple of deadlines, but we are pretty confident that it should be launched in the maybe 1 month to maximum 1.5, 2 months time frame. So I wouldn't want to venture it again, the specific dates for the launch, but we are pretty confident, very close to launching right now, within the deadline that we said, within the timeline that we feel that it was money communicated, as well as it should happen the next couple of months.
What are the new services you're adding to Search Plus in order to distinguish it from the other search engines?
Let's be very clear. I mean, what we are, our value proposition to the consumers are that the price discovery, convenience of using multiple or transacting multiple things on a single platform, the ease, the efficient way in which they can do it. In the process, they save time and money. And obviously, because we are talking about local and hyper-local, the consumer experience overall would be far different from what it is from the routine e-commerce or other players that you have. So from our perspective, the value proposition is very clear, and that's what we are going to communicate during the launch and the ad campaign that's going to be launched post the launch of the Search Plus product. As far as vendors are concerned, what we are very clear is that we want to bring the entire 99% offline vendor which are there online. So we are building grounds for that. Right now, the way we are approaching it is that we are going to have, billing and inventory system, what we call the Search Plus Omni, which will seamlessly enable these businesses to go online. So we are working towards that. And given the popularity of our platform from a search perspective, today we are known as a search platform. Once we do this launch, we want to be able to capture the mind and imagination of the consumers from being search to search and transact platform. And obviously this has immense benefit from an offline vendor perspective, because they get access to the consumers who are going online and doing various transactions today. I must say that actually the kind of publicity being done by various e-commerce companies and other internet companies will work in our favor, because they have created awareness of about the consumers being able to transact online, and our positioning is that we are going to tell the consumers, here's a better, easier, convenient and efficient way for them to transact online. That's going to be the value proposition.
Sure. And Ram, I have no doubts that it should be a good engine and a good trigger as well. But I come back to that point, and this is coming by virtue of the conversations with investors. Your buyback price clearly shows the confidence you have in the business. There are 3 or 4 sell-side notes whose target prices are almost 80 to 120% higher than the current market price, right? So clearly there are some people who are seeing value. Your buyback price shows the confidence that you have, yet the buying is not happening the way it should in a company which is debt-free, good return ratios, etc. Where is the disconnect? In your conversations that you have with investors, are there any other concerns except the delay in Search Plus that they are mentioning?
I think the trigger is going to be Search Plus, because that's what is the major concern communicated by the investors to us, is that you have given deadlines and you're not met. We are going to do a wait and watch kind of an approach, and that's what is going on. And I think once we do the launch, the confidence will come back. We are pretty confident from internal. We have a lot of conviction about the way we are going forward on this entire Search Plus. It's only a matter of time. I'm pretty confident in a couple of months all these will get cleared. And you have to remember, look, there's a lot of capital chasing this segment. There's a lot of attention noise over there. People are asking us, there's so much money getting into the system, so much, companies are, flush with funds. They're spending money on customer acquisition, doing on, advertising, etc. We don't see you anywhere. I think all those apprehensions will get cleared once we do the launch and do the, September, October timeframe. And, once we are currently in what we call the product development launch phase. We are preparing ground for the execution phase, and that's when the consumers will discover Just Dial as well as the investors.
Earmarked Ram for the ad spends?
We continue to maintain that 100 crore which we already communicated earlier, accepting the fact that may not happen entirely in this fiscal year, so we are already 6 months behind. So a good portion of it could overflow into FY17. So, but then we maintain the 100 crore launch ad spend.
Current cash in books, and how much of it will you deploy for the buyback?
So we already have about 920 crores of cash, and probably we are going to be adding as much cash, if not more, than what we are doing the buyback. So 160 crore is what we are going to deploy for the buyback, and the core business will generate that cash. Year on year, the core business is strong, and we continue to generate cash. So the fundamentals are quite strong, and hence the confidence from our perspective to do this buyback.
Okay, Ram, wish you all the best with the launch. We'll look to talk to you, Ram, when the launch indeed does happen. All the best for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Look forward. Thank you.
There's Just Dial confident of the launch within the next 2 months. That's probably the upper end of the deadline. Nevertheless, we're talking about attractive mid caps and small caps. Just Dial is probably one a lot of brokerages bullish there. IIFL has a mid and a small cap conference today. Prabodh Agarwal will be joining us in moments from now, but Ajay from our research desk is